Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Mercury making a square opposition or inconjunct aspect to one's natal ascendant. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Mercury, they can be about communication, assimilating information, mobility, siblings, analysis, learning. When this transit of Mercury basically is making an adverse aspect to one's natal ascendant, well, it may manifest in communications, assimilating information, mobility, siblings, even cousins, neighbors, analysis, learning. This might conflict with the physical body. It could be at a time where you might not really want to be overly mobile. Maybe the vitality or energy level is such where it's harder for you to be moving around. It might be issues with siblings or cousins or neighbors, maybe more physically taxing at this time. Say if your ascendant is in Taurus, as an example, that latent energy that you may have may not really be there. Even in Leo, I mean, if you have the ascendant in Leo, that inexorable energy, that Leo, your inexorable energy that Leo rising may have, may simply not be there to do the things associated with Mercury. You might not even really, you might be physically um, where your your vitality is diminished to a point where you might not really even want to really communicate more so, more so than usual. There might be less propensity to communicate more so than usual because of that. But what I want to say is that when you have transits of Mercury are not going to last very long, but the thing about it is they can have, some effect on the individual. And the thing about it is, you just have to remember that this transit can have some importance because it does last longer than the transit of the moon. And every year you're going to be getting a number of these transits. You'll be getting every year you're going to be getting at least two squares and an opposition, at least two inconjuncts, and you know, and also you're going to be getting some of these aspects. And the thing about this is it might be harder at this time to articulate matters that are really connected with you physically at this time if you're going through any issues that are associated with your physical body, or you might not really be thinking too much about how your appearance is at this time. There might be less worry regarding it, and less analysis as far as this goes. Even if you're going to a place where you feel you may have to dress more meticulously at this time, it can be something where you just might not be paying attention to that at this time. And the thing about this is, and the thing about, I mean, the ascendant is connected with our outlook on life, and Mercury is about, thinking, and it might be more at this time, more so than usual, where your outlook might be not quite as good as it usually was. I mean, say even if your ascendant is an expansive Sagittarius, it can be a time where your outlook on life might not really be as positive as it had been previously. If you have the transit Mercury, say in Virgo, that could be very worrisome, apprehensive thinking. So can conflict with really what your outlook on life is at that point in time. And the ascendant is also connected with our outer demeanor, what we're able to project to others outwardly. And it might be harder to really, as far as expressing yourself verbally, outwardly, kind of your thoughts, that are going on might be harder. They might not be as expressed as naturally as ordinarily. Remember, the ascendant can reflect the qualities that one may naturally express. And when you have the transit Mercury basically making an adverse aspect to your natal ascendant, those qualities may not be expressed. I mean, as far as the communication and articulating things, verbalizing your thoughts outwardly, those things may not be conveyed as easily than ordinarily. Now again, the ascendant is connected with our vitality and energy. It's like the sun in that respect. I actually believe the ascendant has more of a correlation with your energy and vitality level in contrast to the sun. The ascendant dominates the appearance and the physical body. I think it would be safe to say it would be the energy level and vitality level as well. And it could be that maybe thinking about something too much, whether it's worrisome energy, say again going back to say if the transit Mercury is in Virgo, it could be thinking about something um, too much, or Gemini, say transit Mercury's in Gemini, could be overthinking a situation, and maybe might have a negative effect on your vitality and energy level at this time. And Mercury is also associated with new beginnings, so it can be a time where when you're having, if you're trying to start something, maybe you're just not, the frame of mind, either whether it's articulating it or you're trying to write it down, or you're trying to get information pertaining to new beginnings, or just something where you just might not be, up for it at this time until the transit passes, perhaps. Now, the thing about this as well, remember that the ascendant is also connected. I mean, it's connected with a grandparent. It could be a grandparent, someone prominent in your early childhood. It could be that those communications might be a little more tense, or maybe there's more difficulty in communicating with that person, these people at this time. Now, the ascendant is also about first impressions. So it might be you might have a harder time if you're trying to make a first impression on someone, whether it's a prospective employer or what have you. It might be a little bit more difficult because maybe you're having trouble, wording something, or being able to speak about, whether it's your good qualities or what have you, things that could enhance your chance of getting hired, as an example. Now, the thing about this too is that the ascendant, I would think, could be connected. The first house in astrology can be connected with our purge as well. So it might be something where, maybe you're taking a longer time thinking about trying to formulate some plan that might involve, some courage at this time, more so than usual. Um, it can be a situation. Remember that the ascendant is also connected with our defense mechanisms. It's associated with what we may do when we're not overly secure or feel safe in a situation. I mean, Taurus rising can become very obstinate and stubborn, perhaps in a very unsure situation. So that could be, something where, you might react in a way verbally, being maybe a little bit, say more defensive, but bringing out, some negative. It could be about some negative qualities. You might be thinking about bringing out some qualities that can be overly negative, at this time. And when you have this situation, and it could just make it more verbally defensive. I mean, if your ascendant is in Gemini, you might talk up a storm, but you might be hurling out a lot of derogatory remarks as a result. And or it could be simply that maybe siblings, cousins, or neighbors might be making you a little bit more defensive and be bringing out those defense mechanisms at this time more so than usual. Now, speaking of siblings, cousins, and neighbors, at this time, those people may be averse to your appearance. Say if your ascendant is in Taurus, maybe they feel that you're overly monotonous or conservative in terms of how you dress, overly plain. Capricorn ascendant Capricorn could be conservative as well, very orthodox, but maybe more business attire if it's Capricorn. Um, Another thing too is that um, some cases too, this transit may manifest in local transportation issues. It may impede you from making new starts. Say if it could be, say if transit Mercury is in Gemini, maybe it's something with the dual exhaust system, but I'm really being flippant with that. But it could be a situation, I mean, say, if your ascendant is Scorpio, it could be, a new start, perhaps connected maybe with do maybe getting a position as an investigator or with forensics, or it could be, so maybe an intimate, relationship, anything that could be Scorpio related, a shared resources situation. Hold on a moment, people. And anyway, sorry about that, Mac. But anyway, now some cases too, perhaps there can be, difficulty in using the hands and things that require dexterity. Maybe it's due to some kind of vitality issues. You just really don't have the energy to be doing it at this point. If you're doing something, say like with auto mechanics, um, transit Mercury is in Aquarius as an example. Maybe there's something with electrical wiring or something with computers or electronics that require more use of the hands, and it might be something that you're just not up for physically at this time. And again, I'll reiterate what I said previously, that it could also be more difficult in terms of naturally articulating, verbalizing your thoughts at this time. Remember, the ascendant is connected with what we can express naturally or readily, and our thoughts may not really be doing that at this time. Now, another thing too is say if Mercury is in Gemini as an example, it could be manifold things, manifold things, thoughts that might be difficult to naturally express at this time, more so than usual. Now, at this time as well, there can be a greater proclivity to have issues, with the arm, the hands, the arms, lungs, breathing, the nerves, even eyesight at this time, because Mercury can be connected with these things. The ascendant, of course, is associated with the physical body. If Mercury is in Pisces, as an example, it can be some issues. It could be with rather blurred or unclear vision, or maybe there's some problems, with the hands, just general weakness, or something, that might be problems with the arms, the hands, that might be more, somewhat nebulous and unclear. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.